So, Congressman, you are chairman of the Select Committee on Economic Disparity and Fairness in Growth. And in that capacity, you have been working on, and I mean executive producing, a documentary film that will premiere tonight. It is entitled Grit and Grace, The Fight for the American Dream, which tells the stories of three different people, all from different backgrounds, but united in their goal of achieving success in America. Here's a preview.
In June of 2021, Democrats and Republicans in Congress came together to study and propose solutions to our growing economic divide.
In the wealthiest country in the world, most people are struggling economically.
People are trying to move up, and often we see things get in the way of that.
Here are three stories that capture the ambition, hunger, passion, and love that define resilience. The cooks, whose time is consumed by caregiving.
I met the boys. I didn't see special needs.
Alicia Villanueva, who found passion in sharing her culture's riches.
I was thinking how I can contribute to this country.
And Joseph William Graham Jr., still ambitious in the face of injustice.
Can we achieve human dignity and build a life for your family that's stable and a legacy to leave behind them?
A legacy of grit and grace.
Wow, that's SJP narrating that. This 30-minute film is the first of its kind documentary film produced by Congress. And as the EP, Congressman Himes, what were you hoping to accomplish with this, with these beautiful stories?
Well, Mika, when Speaker Pelosi asked me to chair this committee, I thought we're going to do what a committee does. We're going to produce a report with recommendations, and we've done that. But I also thought, and again, this takes me back to January 6th, I also thought that here is an opportunity to tell a bunch of American stories. And when you get out of this building, when you get out of Washington, D.C., you discover that people are not stereotypes. And you know, you heard briefly from our three characters there, three real people who are struggling with dignity and hope and aspiration. They've all had a really tough time, but you know, they wake up every morning deciding that this is going to be their day. And you know, we were just talking about one of the most brutal moments in our history, January 6th. These are real Americans who, despite the challenges they have, they are optimists, they're aspirational, and they're the very best of America. And my objective here was to, look, the report will speak to your head. This documentary speaks to your heart. And if you watch this 30 minutes and you don't feel like we need to do more to make sure that every American has a shot at the American dream, you know, I don't know that I can help you.
To your credit, Congressman, and to your team, this is one of the few things in American culture right now that just seems to have been stripped of politics. It's just talking about the economy and people from different parts of the country and different parties and their pursuit of the American dream. And this really is at the heart of everything. We talk about so much every morning on this show that is important, obviously, but most people wake up in the morning and they just say, how am I doing? How can I do better? So from your vantage point, from the building where you're standing right now, how can you as elected leaders help some of the people in your film do better?
Well, you know, there's a policy discussion to be had, and if you read the report, it won't surprise you to know that we need to invest an awful lot more in the youngest Americans. You know, Germany, the United Kingdom, Japan, Korea, all the countries that we compete with are investing a lot more in their children, education, all of that kind of, you know, care than we are. And guess what? When they grow up and they're in global competition, there will be a cost to pay for that fact. So that's point one. Point two, and this gets me back to the documentary, we need to fix something in this country. We were talking about in the context of January 6th. We need to fix something in this country that I think Donald Trump broke. You know, Donald Trump realized that there's huge political power in making us hate each other, to think about each other as stereotypes. That guy's a MAGA guy. That guy is a socialist Democrat. The more we think in those terms, the less we're going to feel the empathy that we need to feel if we're going to really understand that we're all in the same boat, that we've got obligations to each other, and that we need to do an awful lot better in a country that has hundreds of thousands of deaths of despair and that is leaving too many people behind. If we don't get that empathy, we're not going to succeed on the policy front.
Congressman, welcome to the world of television production and finding stories. If ever you need a new job and you decide for a change of career, just give us all a call. It's exactly the kind of thing that we do every day. It's interesting that, you know, we saw January the 6th, which was also a very well-produced report, effectively, investigation from the January the 6th committee. You are now doing this. Is there a sense in Congress that you need to do something else to break through to people, and specifically to break through to people in a way that is more human and less partisan, and perhaps the old way of producing reports that no one ever reads is, needs to be confined to history, and this is the way to actually reach people?
You know, I'm glad you asked that, because it wasn't a coordinated effort, but you're absolutely right. This documentary, which I think is first of its kind, and of course the way the January 6th committee told its story, are real breaks from the way Congress typically does hearings, right? Which, let's face it, are really boring, and they feature lots of people like me pontificating for 5 minutes. That may be satisfying for the people in the room, but it doesn't tell a story. It's not satisfying. And yes, and let's go to the very core of the problem we're addressing here. Most Americans think, oh my gosh, what happens in the Congress, these people don't care about me, they don't know me, they don't listen to me. And if we find ways to both listen and to communicate in authentic and compelling ways, we're going to help stitch back that confidence that I would hope Americans would have in their democracy.
You can watch that new documentary streaming tonight on the YouTube page for the House Select Committee on Economic Disparity and Fairness in Growth. Congressman Jim Himes of Connecticut, thanks for your time this morning. We appreciate it.
Thank you.